everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox, your unapologetic deconstruction coach. Here to remind you that this is your season. This is your season for change. This is your season of self discovery. And with that comes deconstructing, dismantling, and getting rid of everything that no longer serves you. Why? Because you want to step into the newness of who you are, discovering your true authentic self and to live your life organically. And what does that mean? It means without pretending, without a performance type behavior and, people pleasing uh, behaviors and all of that. You want to be yourself so that you can flow and function in your own authenticity, saying what's on your mind and approaching situations with your own ability to think critically and dealing with issues with emotional intelligence, not flying off the handle, but just taking control, regulating your emotions, and this way you can navigate through life and so forth. So anyway, but what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about relationships today because I have always said that, and when I say relationships, it could be a marriage or a partnership or whatever works for you. But let's take it from the place of marriage, people that are married. And the reason is, I have always said, and someone questioned that, I have always said the success of a marriage or the success of a relationship is to keep people out of your marriage, is to keep people out, whether it's friends, family, relative, acquaintances, keep people out of your marriage. And I always including God, keep God out of your marriage. And if you're religious, obviously your eyebrows are going to raise, and you're going to may take offense to that thought process. But just bear with me for a second and follow along. When I say keep everyone out of your marriage, because we can be influenced by people, we can be influenced by words, we can be influenced by someone's opinion, their view. Everybody has an opinion, and when it comes to your relationship, it should be you and your spouse working things out. People that say marriage is hard, I never subscribed to that. And then, for a minute, I thought, you know what? Yes, it could be. But then now I've come to realize that it's not the marriage that's hard. It's life that presents all these challenges. And if you don't know who you are, number one, or if you're not committed to the person that you are married to, then yes, it can be difficult because you'll be going south and this person will be going north. Excuse me. You'll be going east and the other person will be going west. And then, unless you come to a place where you can have a collective thought process in how to deal and handle the situation, you always will have conflict. And then that's when it will appear to be hard, because why? You're pulling against each other. You want to do this, he wants to do that, and so forth. But so it's the situation. You have to look at the situation at hand and not think of it as the marriage to then label your marriage as hard. Now, one of the reasons I say to keep God out of your relationship, which seems to be the big question, is like, what do you mean keep God out of your relationship? That's what keeps it together. Now, you and I know that is not true. How do we know that? Because there's so many marriages, that happens, that starts with a vow to each other. And most marriages happens in a church. And even if it's not in a church, it has vows of commitment. And in the religious uh, doctrine, people say God first, then yourself. No, God, your husband, yourself, something like that, and then the kids and so forth. So there's like hierarchy and so forth. So if you subscribe to that mindset, then you will do things to perform, to follow the doctrine according to uh, the word, the scripture, what's written in the Bible. And but you and I have seen so many marriages that after the honeymoon is over, after the wedding is over, and the marriage starts, then there goes the problems or the challenges and stuff like that. And if you are of the mindset that you do only what the word says, think of it. Then it's not, you are living a performative life. You're not doing what you want or what comes organically, but you're performing because the word says that. Um, there's a couple. Let me kind of backtrack a little bit. Marriage vows. And just to bring clarity to this whole thing about marriage, you and I know that marriage is a social construct. It's a social construct. Society created that. They created the vows and so forth. The vows, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health. We didn't use those vows at all, because even back then, my mind was way ahead of its time. And I know that myself, I am not a for better, for worse type person. There's no such thing that I am going to put up with and so forth. So um but in the meantime, this couple, it's a young couple, mid-30s and so forth, three kids. And this couple is a nurse. The husband is an engineer, and he got laid off. They've been working for a long time. She works as a nurse, works like, I don't know, 10 hours a day, whatever. And he's an engineer, so they both entered into the marriage uh, uh, well prepared, planned, well educated, and so forth. So he gets laid off, and so now they're down to one income. They have a couple of luxury cars. They bought a nice house, and their kids go to private school. Why? Because that's what their salaries allow them to do, to create that lifestyle. But now that it's down to one family, one person working, things have changed. So he gets laid off, and he's supposed to go look for another job. Why? Because you're responsible for, I mean, five mouths to feed, including yourself, three kids and wife and so forth. But so the first week, he makes an effort, looks for a job, nothing, he lands nothing, and he continues to look for a job, and nothing lands. By now, it's about a month. She has increased her time um, from 10 hours a day to 12 hours a day, so that she can make extra money to meet the bills and so forth. Well, he, in the meantime, gets discouraged and starts gaming on the these games, starts gaming every day. And as time went on, he became somewhat addicted to the gaming and so forth, and would not look for a job, did not do anything, did not help with the house, to help with the cooking, didn't do anything at all. So Sarah would go to work for 12 hours, but then when she comes home, and she was able to arrange her schedule so that she would have some time to take care of the kids, help them with the homework, and get them ready for school and so forth, and prepare a meal and so forth. So Sarah was doing all of that, and her husband was doing nothing at all. After, months of talking and, talking and so forth, Sarah realized that her husband was addicted to the games, and he had no interest in going back to work. Now we're going into like 9 months now. He had no interest in going back to work because he became addicted to the online gaming. He had friends all over the world, and that became something that he enjoyed doing. In the meantime, she's working 12 hours a day and so forth. Now, in that situation, now, is that for better or for worse? What would you do? You've got three kids, three mouths to feed, including, and then, plus you and your wife, and and you're gaming. And Sarah is now, if you, and they did the vows. And they said, for better, for worse. Now, what do you call this situation? This is for a worse situation. Does that mean she stays just because she made a commitment? Now, was her commitment to God or was her commitment to her husband? What's going to work? Should she just go on living this life? She's working 12 hours a day, like, 5 days a week to make ends meet because there are bills to pay and there are things to do. Of course, they can't, at this point, they can't do anything extra. No vacation, no going out to dinner, nothing at all. No extras for the kids, no games for the kids, no, nothing at all. So their lives have changed. What would you do in that situation? Um, after, you've gone through months of talking it out, uh, after you have gone through months of talking it out, trying to make things work, trying to come up with ideas, perhaps work from home. You have gone through it all. And then you decided to go to counseling. And so you're in counseling. And what is the objective? What is the purpose of the counseling? Is it to save your marriage or to get the help that he needs so that he could, change his mindset and back on track as the person responsible for your family, working as a team with your wife, working in partnership with your wife, with your spouse? And so they went to counseling, and that didn't work. They're going now over 12 months, and he still has not found a job. What is Sarah to do? Remember, she made a commitment for better, for worse. What is she supposed to do at this point? Should she, what is that, the life that Sarah is going to live the rest of her life, being the sole provider for the family while her husband continues to game the whole day? Game. She leaves, he's gaming. She gets up, he's gaming. That became his addiction. So anyway, Sarah decided that that lifestyle wasn't for her, and she divorced him, took the kids, divorced him, and went on her merry way. Because on her own, yeah, it was a little bit of a struggle, but she was able to take care of her family, her three little ones and herself, and he just remained. I don't know what happened to her husband, but she left. Um, so you see, when you say for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, uh, it doesn't always, when I say keep God out of it, now, some people said that the only thing the Bible allows or God allows in a marriage for you to leave if there is adultery. So that means Sarah would have to stay in that relationship, performing, uh, pretending she still loves, admire, respect her husband, when in fact she didn't. She lost all respect for him because he didn't make an effort to go seek help. And there was nothing for her to admire in him because the person that she met before they got married, had some great qualities. Someone that was ambitious, a go-getter, skillful, and had uh, good ability, and positive and optimistic, and a dreamer, and someone that had a future that he promised. But then that changed. So what is she supposed to do in the meantime? Should she just, in the meantime, she is still ambitious, a go-getter. She's trying to get, a higher position in her nursing career and so forth. But in the meantime, if he's lagging behind, and it's not even lagging behind, like even if he had taken a job with less pay or less responsibilities, that would have been okay because you still, at least you would have an income and you would have the opportunity to, while working, look for something else, so that you can meet your responsibility as a responsible partner in the relationship and so forth. So if Sarah went by according to the doctrine, the religious doctrine, that only uh, because of adultery are you allowed to leave your spouse, then how how is life to be for Sarah? Again, it's a mindset, and that may work for you. You may want to sacrifice your life and your kids' life and all of that and stay in the marriage just because, but then it becomes performative. What happens? You are not discovering who you are. You are not discovering yourself. You cannot self-express. Why? Because you are performing based on what the Bible says, what the Scripture says. And if that works for you, then that's fine. But when I talk about going back to that place to discover, to become aware of who you are, to go back to that place to remember who you are, the fun person, and being able to live your life organically and authentically. You cannot be in a relationship like that, with that mindset at all. You just can't. They cannot coexist. Either you follow that and you pretend, or you go on to discover who you are and live your life organically in your true, authentic self. So this thing about the marriage vows, I don't subscribe to that at all. And it's interesting because you find a lot of couples, and which I think is so sweet, that after a certain number of years, they renew their vows. And what happens is that they renew the same exact vows. And when I tell you, my friend, that you can create whatever works for you, then that's what you do. We did. This thing about renewing your vows and getting dressed up and all that, that is excellent if it works for you. Doesn't work for me, doesn't work for my husband, it doesn't work for us. We have done some things that work for us, and and it's been so very, very effective. And I'm going to share some of that with you so that you can have an idea of our mindset, and not for you to follow, but so that you can create whatever it is that works for you. So for us, this year is going to be like 34 wonderful years since we've been married. And it's really been 34. And I say that sincerely, 34 good years between us. Good relationship, uh, no issues. Of course, we have disagreement, and we're both passionate. We both have a mind of our own. We are both critical thinkers, and we don't always agree. But one thing that we have in common, one thing that we are passionate about, one thing that we pay attention to is respect for each other. My husband knows that, this thing about love, I'm the, oh, I love you. That's all good. But to me, the most important thing in a relationship is respect, is the respect you have for each other. The respect you have for each other, not respect you have. No. It's how you treat each other. The words you speak to each other. Like, we have never like called each other ill name. Like, now if I say, yo, you're acting silly, that's not calling him out of his name. He's just saying, you're acting silly. But as far as calling each other by names, we just don't do that, because in my mind, if I call you some insulting name or whatever, that's a reflection on me, because I chose you. So if you choose to call your husband or your wife, foolish, an idiot, this, that, the other, it's a reflection on you, because that was your choice. So that is my mindset. And again, when we got married, the commitment was to each other. Of course, we have evolved. And because we didn't have the marriage, the traditional marriage vows, we, in my mind, it wasn't like making any kind of commitment to God. I loved my husband. He loved me, and we just thought that we're gonna have a good life. That was just set. We had wonderful people around us. We had some great positive people that loved us and believed in us and so forth. And so we were good there. But I know in my mind I wasn't thinking, we are sealing this with God's presence. Even though at that time I was religious, I was totally religious. And as I've shared before, my husband kind of came along with me in this whole, uh, you know, environment of religious doctrine and so forth. So, but the whole commitment was to each other. And we did not do the for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health. We didn't do that. I never liked that. I just never did. So what we have done, okay? Remember I shared that there are a lot of couples that after a certain number of years they renew their vows, and that's a great thing. Whatever works for you. But for us, so we this is what we do. Cook a nice meal, have a glass of wine, which is kind of like out of the norm. And there's a series of questions that we sit down and we ask each other, and just to kind of refresh, to know our mindset. And we are very authentic. I don't try to say things that I believe he's going to like to hear, and vice versa. He's not going to say things that he thinks I want to hear, because that's not the plan. We want to know really how each other feel, because sometimes there are things on the insides that you may have, and they're unsettled or unfinished business and so forth, and you need kind of clarification or whatever it is. We That gives us an opportunity to sit and think and discuss and unpack, and to be raw with each other in every area, whether it's physically, sexually, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, financially. We are raw. We just make it a raw type of communication. And we run the risk that, we may learn some things that may not be pleasant, or we may learn some things that we didn't know this is the way our partner thinks about us. And so one of the questions that we would ask is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong how strong is our relationship in your mind? On a scale, and we would have we it would be a fun thing, but serious at the same time. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how how strong is our relationship? That means in your mind, in my mind. And if the person says whatever number, if it's not a 10, if it's a 10, you need to qualify that. Why do you think it's a 10? Because there's always room for improvement and progress. So if it's a 10, that means that you have plateaued to where you want to go. So in our minds, if it's a 10, there is some issues, because if we continue to evolve, it cannot be a 10, because we are learning every day, and every day we want new things. We learn new things, we adjust, we modify, we change things. So a 10 doesn't mean that's a great score. A 10 means that you have come to a place of a fixed mindset. And I know for me that doesn't work. And neither does it work for my husband, because he's one that's always, learning things and checking things out, and so forth. So a 10 doesn't mean that it's a great score. A 9 doesn't mean that it's a great score. And again, if you say a 10, you need to qualify it. Again, that's between us. I'm just sharing with you what we do. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is our relationship? And if somebody says an 8, and then again, whatever number you says, whatever number on the scale that you perceive it to be, because you could have a certain perception of where you are, and then he has a different perception. But so with that, you must qualify what you mean. I believe we are an 8 because I think we could grow more in this area. Um, you could meet my needs a little more in this area, or whatever it is. You must qualify it. If there's an area where you believe that you both uh, can grow into, then whatever it is, you must qualify why you chose whatever scale number on the scale. So just think about that. Think of the dialogue that promotes or provokes. The dialogue, it makes you think about your relationship. It makes you think critically. It really forces you to think. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because when we've done this, and when we started, my husband, he was like, he got stuck, and I would be like, okay, then I'll go first. And once he saw the kind of the way I would navigate through the question, he started to think in his way. But to answer again, we are raw with it, because that's how you get to know each other. And this way, you strengthen your relationship, it becomes stronger, and you become closer, and you really get to know the person, not for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health. No, you want to get the raw, authentic uh, understanding of your spouse. So once you get each other's ideas, then you kind of know where it stands based on the the thought process of each other, and you won't forget that. And you will, if somebody says an 8, then you and they qualify it, then you would want to know, well, what's missing, and then you have something to work for. You have something to work toward to make it the next time around 9 or 10. And this is something you do periodically. You don't wait till every 10 years to do this. This is something you do periodically. So that's one of the questions that is a great opening, because again, it gets you thinking, and it lets you know where you stand in the relationship. So another question that we ask ourselves, we have a whole bunch of questions here, and you can create your own. So we also, one of the questions that we would ask each other is, or that we ask each other is, when you look at me, what do you see? Now, when you look at me, what do you see? Imagine asking your spouse that question. What do you see? What do you see? Do you see someone that is a strong person, someone that's admirable, someone that you're proud of, someone that you're happy to share life with, someone that you can trust, someone that you can rely upon, someone that you can um uh enjoy life with, someone that you can have adventurous experiences with. What do you see? Imagine, you know, creating those thoughts in your mind toward your partner, your spouse. When you look at me, what do you see? And for me, it's so, I've learned some things about myself that I didn't realize how my husband sees me. And they've been really encouraging. I'm not here to tell you what we said, but one of the things that he said about me is that he said, you are an achiever. You are an achiever. You set your mind to do something and you get it done. And you know what's interesting? My mother's she's been passed for a while, and but when my mother was alive, she would always say, if you want to get something done, check with Cynthia. See Cynthia, she'll get it done. My mom used to say that. My mom used to say that all the time. And I really never really gave it much thought because I just do things. I just, like to get things done. Practical way. I don't, so, but to hear my husband say that, that was that was soothing because it's not, I mean, I'm not a failure, but it's not a word that I ascribe to myself to say I am an achiever. I know I get things done, but that's the way he packaged it. You are a woman, you are an achiever, a strong woman, determined woman. Anyway, he that's what he sees when he sees me. Imagine your spouse sharing those things, those attributes with you. Just imagine. Because many times, we think of things. We think of uh certain characteristics or attributes about someone, but we don't tell them in a meaningful way, in a purposeful way, in a an intentional way to say like I this is how I see you. So for me, that was just very encouraging, and for him as well, because the things that I was able to share with my husband, he just a lot of things that he just does it because he's a very responsible man. And like as he always said, you are my responsibility. That's in his mind. And that's what he does. And he takes care of things around to make life uh, smooth, nice, easy for us the best he can. And so when I shared some things with him, it was just a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant surprise to hear it from me. Because even though you could say it every day, it's like, oh my, thank you for doing that. I'm so glad you did that, whatever. That's one way of expressing that. But then when you sit down and you say, this is how I see you, that is a whole different mindset. It puts you in a different framework. And with all these questions, what happens is that you get to where your love, your respect, the admiration for each other grows. And even if there are things that you don't like or things that you like what is he saying, then you would know the areas of how he sees that needs to be improved, corrected. And you don't want to, I mean, for us, it's not like looking at the little nuances, the little things that may bother you with. It's not about that. It's about the attributes. It's about the characteristics, the character traits that the person possesses. And once you start being mindful of that, then what happens is that, wow, it just puts something on the inside of you. And my husband said, when I ask you to do something or when I ask for something, he said, as a matter of fact, he said something like, uh, when I give you an assignment, and I was like, an assignment? It's like, I kind of took offense to that word. He's like, no, 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 I don't mean it that way. He said, because he said that. That's what came out authentically. He said, when I give you an assignment, he said, I can trust that you're gonna. And I took offense to that word. An assignment is like, wait a minute, you don't give me an assignment. I didn't like it. I didn't like that word. And he said, no, 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 I don't mean that. When I ask you to do something, I know it's going to get done. I can trust that it's going to get done. That was a lot more soothing than him saying when I give you an assignment, it's like, wait a minute, you're not my boss, you're not my superior, you are my equal partner, because that's the way our marriage is not 50-50. Ours is 100 and 100. And he's not my better half. He's not even my half. He needs to show up 100, just like I show up 100. Those are just little things that in our minds, we don't subscribe to that mindset. Oh, where's your better half? No, 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 no. He's not my better half, and I'm not his better half. He came 100 and I showed up 100. So it's not 50-50 and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so that's one of the questions. And okay, let me go to another question that we ask each other. What's one memory with me you never want to forget? Imagine that. What's one memory with me you would never want to forget? Imagine in all the years that we've been married, and just think, I was a little more prepared because I am the one that put it together. And as a matter of fact, I said to him, our next go around, you'll have the questions in advance so that you can, be a little more prepared. But because we have created so many memories together, um, in his mind, he was like, oh gosh, there are so many good memories that he had that, it wasn't easy for him to come up with one. For me, however, I was able to share in one of our travels. Um, he did not, he's not. My husband doesn't really like the cold, but I do. I like the cold. I like the snow. I like all of that winter. And I arranged a vacation, and kind of impromptu, and really didn't do it the way we generally do, to make sure that we both, agree on the destination and everything that we're going to choose, the way we travel, all of that. We generally, I put it together and we discuss it and we come to an agreement, yeah or nay. But this one, gosh, I was so excited about doing it because it was something different for us. And I booked this vacation in a you know winter destination and so forth, and he was mad as hell when I mentioned it to him. But I had already booked everything. I booked everything or whatever, and he was not happy. He was not happy about that at all. But at the same time, I bought all the clothing that we needed for that place. I bought all I did a lot of research, and I checked on the type of fabric, the type of undergarment, those that would withstand, you know, below 0 degree weather. I bought everything. I bought the right glasses. I bought I bought everything. I souped both of us up so that when we arrived at that destination, that we would, even though it's cold, that we would be well prepared, wearing the clothing that's appropriate for that climate, so forth. So anyway, he agreed to go because plane tickets were already bought, hotels booked, uh, tours done, adventures already paid for. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting because one adventure situation that I paid for, and once we got there, he said, "You know what? We're not doing that. We're not doing." So we lost that money, but so we got there, and once my husband decided that we were going to go, that okay, we're going to go. It's already booked, it's paid for, because of course, by then I had said, well, we can just cancel it, lose the money, and so he agreed to go. His attitude did like a 360. I mean, his attitude, he went and I guess in his mind, made a decision that he was going to have fun, that he was going to enjoy our time together. He was just going to have fun, even though he hates the cold with a passion. And it was something that was kind of sprung upon him, but he decided that he was going to enjoy himself. So we got there. We had secured this vehicle, rented this car, and we got there, and the guy gave us an upgrade. So that was good. But then we get into the car, and the windshield wiper, evidently the car came from another state. I don't know where there is no weather issues, so it didn't have the what is it, antifreeze solution in the container, and it had, I guess, water, and it froze and it didn't work and all. It was such a challenge, because if you were driving on snowy roads and snow coming down, you need your windshield working. Anyway, he worked it out. He figured it out. We got to a place. We got some solution, anti-freeze, I guess is what you call it. And he just made it so pleasant and delightful, and all the things that I had planned, except for that one adventure situation. uh because when it would have been like exposed to the elements for hours, and he said, no, we're not doing that. It was already paid for, but he just said, no, we're not going to do that. So we went to the office and we canceled our whatever. Didn't get our money back, but that was okay, because he said no, and I was okay with that. But everything else, he was so, and I admired that, his ability to pivot, his ability, the decision he made, that he's gonna have a good time, and make it fun and enjoyable, and all these traits, all these character traits were exhibited, and just came out. And he just thought I just thought that was so admirable, because when I mentioned it to him like a month before the actual date, he was not happy. He was not happy at all that I went ahead and did all that booking without us, because we generally just confer and check things out and come to a mutual agreement. But I just kind of went ahead and did that because I wanted it so bad, and I did it. And then, of course, now I you made it clear. Now I understand that he doesn't like the cold. Uh, Not that he doesn't like it with a passion. He doesn't like that kind of stuff. So I was able to share the attributes that I saw, the character traits that I admire. And the question was, what was the one memory with me that I would never forget? And it's that memory. We have hundreds of different situations that I could have mentioned, but that, because he exhibited so many, so many attributes, that I just thought, wow, because I would have, if he took me to a place like where it's very, very hot and we had to be outside in the elements, I would have to get my mind rewired, because I don't like it like too hot, unless I have shade sitting in front of an ocean or something like that, and the beach. But yeah, so anyway, he learned something that he didn't even think about it. He did, because I had never, I said, I'm glad we had a good time or whatever. But to really break it down the way I did during our conversation, he really saw the things that I admire of him. Because I was able to articulate it and pinpoint uh, the different occasions, and how he acted, and how he responded and his attitude toward the whole thing. And he was pleasantly surprised. He had no idea I was seeing him in that manner. And then, of course, he shared with me some things that it's interesting. Um, we, us, we as women, sometimes, with our spouses, you have to be really a strong, confident woman to just deal with life. And we do so much, and unless you have learned to pat your own self on the back, sometimes you can feel short. That's why a lot of women, they say, well, they do so much and they're tired, they need to go to the spa, blah, blah, and all of that. Well, I've learned to pat myself on the back. When I know that I have accomplished something or done something that I plan or achieved something and so forth, I pat myself on the back. I don't wait to be patted on the back. But then to hear it from because the person that is closest to you, they're the ones that know you the most. They know you the most. They're the one that sees you, when you wake up, your morning breath, your hair all messed up, they're the ones that see you, when you go walking and you come back sweating, they're the ones that see you. They know you. So, if they are authentic, they're going to tell you the truth about it. They're going to tell you the truth about yourself. So, to hear it from your husband when he shares those qualities that he admires of you, in you, that's for me, it was a big deal, because it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that and then he shared an occasion where he saw me, um where where he saw me take command of a situation, um and he was able to observe me under pressure, under stress, making decision and doing things, and really, and and he pointed those things out. And in my mind, I was thinking, gosh, I just did what I had to do. You just, comes to a situation where you just do what you got to do. You don't think in terms of, it wasn't performative. You just do what you have to do. It wasn't like pretending that I can do this, and no, you just do what you got to do. Even before I became aware of my critical thinking skills, I've done that all my life. I, I mean, now that there's a word for it, critical thinking, I mean, yeah, I've always been a critical thinker. Emotional intelligence, yes. I, being able to regulate your emotions when things happen, not fly off the handle, and not get an attitude, not get resentful and bitter and this and no. These are things that because I read a lot, and psychology, the brain, the study of the human mind, brain, and so forth. I am interested in that. So I read a lot of those things, and I try to apply it to my life uh, every day. I mean, there are times that I can fly off the handle or just get impatient, or but my whole character trait embodies critical thinking skills and emotional intelligence. But to hear that from your spouse is really incredible. To hear what he has to say about you. Now, if we, let's say we made a decision to renew our vows and just went to the, just have a second wedding, renew our vows and so forth. That's great. We'll probably have a different type of vows that we, or commitment to each other. I hate to call them vows, but commitment to each other and so forth. But to sit together learning this, I mean, you can do both. We just rather use our money to go travel and so forth. um and if we need to get together with friends, that we can do, and we enjoy that, select group of friends. And because we have passed the period of big crowds, and we can have, five or six couples, and really enjoy an intimate gathering. But to sit and to learn more about yourself, that is what these are things that will strengthen your relationship, because it tells you things about each other that you probably didn't think about. Let's try to do, I think that was one, two, three. Let's try to do another one here. Oh, we asked each other, um, what part of our relationship feels the most real to you? Imagine that question. What part of our relationship feels the most real to you? And of course, you have to think. Is it the emotions that we share? Is it the sex? Is it our the way we think, our minds? Is it our social um attributes, the way we relate when we are in public? And so, what part of our relation feels the most real? And that was an interesting question, because when you talk about trust, respect, and trust, being able to trust someone, that is huge for us, to be able to trust someone. I see on social media all the time, couples, they don't want to share their phones with each other. Their phones. And that's something that we do. My husband would say, honey, would you update my phone, or would you put that contact in there, or whatever? And that's just something that we do without even thinking. And the reason that some couples, they don't share their phones, is because they may have some things on their phones that they're hiding, or they're on this what is it called, Google Incognito. There's a Google Incognito where you can put stuff on there that no one will access it, and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't fit into our relationship. And we were able to share with each other the part of our relationship that feels the most real to each other. And that was just such a beautiful exchange of intimacy. And the last thing we asked, for that, because you don't want to overwhelm, we had about 5 questions. And the last thing we asked of each other, um, which I thought was interesting, and I said, it says, if we had a theme song, what would it be? If our relationship had a theme song, what would it be? And of course, I know what that theme song is for me, for us. And he could not remember the artist's name, but he came up with something, and which is what, again, the whole idea is to flow organically and be your true authentic self. Don't try to pretend, don't try to make things up, don't try to say something that you believe your partner wants to hear. That's not what it's all about. It is about being your authentic self as you have these exchanges. So again, we have a whole let's see, we have like 21 questions here, having to do with the relationship. And uh I want to encourage you. That's part of growth. That's part of discovering who you are. Because, um, a- and if my husband had said something that I don't believe, it's because it's not just the nice stuff. It's things that it's just authentic and organic, and it helps you grow. It helps you become a better person, the better version of yourself. So I think it's very effective. At least it is for us. And I'm saying to you, my friend, create your own. Remember, everything that you do, everything that you follow, every rule, every law, regulation, whatever it is, every doctrine is created by someone else. And you are living according to someone else's opinion, their ideas, their views, someone else. You can create your own. Create what works for you. Create what works for you. You may want to, if you want to renew your vows and all that, for you, it may be a, trip to Paris and, have a romantic encounter with each other, whatever it is. I am saying to you, my friend, you are well able to create the life that you desire, to live life on your own terms. You must create. You have the ability to create. And the moment you start taking those steps to do that, you will see how things will become real. Doors will open, opportunities, situations will just pop up in your midst. Why? Because your mindset embraces that. Your mind is set for growth, development, to evolve. It will line up with the things that you want, you desire, you wish for. Just know that you can do it. I hope this kind of helps a little bit. And you see, none of this has to do with including God in our relationship, because it has to do with when you leave someone to themselves, see what they will do. See what they will do on their own, and see what they will choose to do on their own. Not because the Bible says this or the Bible says that. No, see what they will choose to do on their own. I'm going to leave you with this, my friend. I really enjoyed sharing this with you, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to this. I've got a lot of other questions, and uh, I may do a follow up next week. I'm not sure. We'll see. It all depends on what you may share with me, and if you want to hear more, then I will share more. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you with that, my friend. This is today is Thursday. Every Thursday we have a date right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't meet with me at 2 p.m., you see these icons over here? Look, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can pick up the show 24/7 anytime. And if you wish to drop me a note, go to my email. It says info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. Drop me a note and I will respond to you. I'm also a certified life coach. So if you want to chat, if you want some more support, guidance, whatever, drop me a note. Info at thecynthialinoxshow.com, and I will get back with you. Other than that, tomorrow is Friday, and then we have the weekend coming up. I trust that you will have a fantastic weekend, amigo, and I will see you next week. Same time,